There are many different types of modems, and a modem is identified by its properties. The properties affect the modem's performance and its compatibility with other modems. When modems begin to communicate with each other, they go through what's called a handshaking phase. This is when the initial agreement is made as to how to send and receive data, and anyone who's ever used a modem has heard the high-pitched noises that a modem makes when it's communicating with another modem. One of the main properties of a modem is its speed. And speed is generally determined by the modem standard and by the telephone connection. Speed can be measured either in baud rate or in bits per second. Actually, baud rate is an older measurement which indicated how much information or data was being transferred. Bits per second is how many bits per second. So, for example, a 56K BPS modem communicates at 56,000 bits per second. This is a more accurate measurement with today's standards because there's more going on than just data transfer. There's overhead and there's error correction, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. Modem standards have changed dramatically during the years as well. We've gone through many standards throughout the years, and some standards actually conflicted. We'll talk about some conflicting standards in just a second. The standard that we are currently on is V90. So all 56K modems that are V90 can all communicate with each other. But it wasn't always that way. Up until 1998, we had a potential conflict with modems. Before 1998, there were two standards that were totally incompatible with each other. There was the X2 standard, which was a U.S. robotics modem, and then a K56 standard, which was Lucent Technologies and Rockwell International Corporation. And it was possible then that if you had an X2 modem and I had a K56 Flex modem, that we would not be able to communicate with each other because the standards were different. But in February of 1998, we adopted the V90 standard, and since then, most 56K modems have adopted the V90 standard, so 56K modems can all communicate with each other. But 56K modems can't necessarily get 56,000 bits per second on a standard telephone line, because high speed can't be attained at all if the line is noisy. In other words, if there's a lot of interference on the line, then we're not going to get the performance all the way up to the potential of the modem. So a speed of 56 kilobits per second is seldom actually accomplished on a telephone line. That's okay. We usually can get somewhere between 52 and 54 kilobits per second on a good, clean telephone line, and that allows us to transfer all of our data as well as all of the overhead and error correction information as well. So there's a lot more going on than just transferring the information itself. And we'll talk about the other information that's being transferred through a telephone line connection with a modem in our next section.